Today's video is sponsored by our friends at Famous Faces and Funnies. Hey, you too could tap into the Florida market. Check out their Whatnot app as well as their Facebook Live options. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Codename New to Vero 2, the Gen X for Gen X channel. I'm your presenter, Shabu RU. So this will be our monthly comic book pickup episode where I look at some of the books that are new and also some of the older books that I've picked up during the course of the month as we look back and reflect, mostly for fun and maybe to bring to you guys' attention to what you would like to add to your collection. But it's just a fun way to either revisit iconic issues or to discover new ones. Now, with the Halloween season just around the corner, August has no shortage of spooky, scary thriller. And boy, this collection that I picked up sure dots all of the I's on this one. Now, I want to start off with something that makes me very happy to discuss, and that is Batman. This is Batman issue 150 with the iconic Jose Luis Garcia Lopez cover. Now, for all you guys, a lot of you Gen Xers know who this guy is because along with Neil Adams, his artwork, especially for the DC universe, is something that we grew up with. This should be no surprise, especially if you had the Kenner superpower line of action figures. But what's interesting is that this is actually the template that DC sends out to potential licensees, manufacturers to say, hey, this is what our Batman in the 70s, 80s looks like. This is what you have to follow. Now, I have a similar cell for the DiC animated series featuring the Baroness. So just to see like that's the original one, or not the original. I think it's like one of the main copies, because they would get like 3 or 4 of them. But that actually came from the DiC animated studio, and I'll show you up in the corner here what it looks like. But recently, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez is such a mouthful, and I want to say properly. So he recently released like several of his character depictions in this template. So it was kind of cool. If you follow him on Facebook, he released these out for people to look at, say, hey, this is what I did. So that's pretty cool that he was able to share that. Now, going back, of course, it's 150. It's a milestone issue, and those tend to be good and bad at the same time. But the current Batman story arc with Chip Zdarsky has been absolutely phenomenal. Now, like many of you, we were around 89 for the summer of the bat, so to speak. Batman was everywhere. Everyone was reading Batman comic books between Batman and Spider-Man. And hey, I'm also could be guilty of that. I read a lot of Batman, like A Lonely Place of Dying, Death in the Family, Year One, Year Two, Year Three. Year Three is very underrated, and I've talked about that. The first appearance of Tim Drake and then Tim Drake as Robin. Definitely, I think we talked about that in a previous pickup issue, how you should kind of pick up the Tim Drake's key appearances because, James Gunn has some good plans with him along with Damian Wayne. So the story arc itself has been really good. I remember jumping on and off Batman between issue I guess like 100 with the whole what's her name? Punchline, the whole Punchline story arc introducing Harley Quinn's replacement as in Punchline, and that whole the Gotham Wars going on back then around issue like 120 and 130. It was really good. I mean, finally, there's some. I think the previous run before that fell short really bad. So getting Chip Zdarsky on this and this whole story arc has been so good, so engaging, and it really shows, how we envisioned Batman to be. This hardened, kick-ass vigilante, but he has that one element, that one thing of humanity, and that's hope. Hope for a better tomorrow. And what better sense in our political time and stuff is that thing of hope, that despite all of this negativity, all of this, and I'm not trying to be political here, but it's nice to have that sense of hope. And when you read this issue, you'll understand what I'm talking about, because I'm not trying to give it away, but he helps the son of a lifelong, like, low-level criminal, and shows him a better way. And the kid, kind of acknowledges that. And I think that's what Batman, quintessential Batman, is about. Yeah, you're a detective, you kick ass, everything, but a kind gesture, a small, goes under the radar, but it meant a big deal to the person that affected. Wow, what a powerful message. So look up Batman 150, 151, and you'll see what I'm talking about. The next book we're going to talk about is a new discovery. And of course, the cover definitely picked up my attention. It's called Hell on Heels. And right off the bat, you can see why. It looks like a Baroness there. But this is a crazy ass story. Now, I'm going to give you the overview. Think of the Kardashians, but think if they had talent and they had some sense of purpose. Basically, that's these three girls are killers. And what they do is they use their influence. They get into these high societies, target these scumbags that, profit off of the other people. And there was one, like a star football player, that got away with, if you guys are football NFL fans, what's his name for the Cleveland Browns? The guy who was caught getting happy massages, so to speak. Oh, what's his name? Played for Clemson. I forget. But anyway, so they go after a football player, and they just they're brutally killing people. The gore and everything in it is just crazy. And I was like shocked when I read this. They have, their dad is basically kind of the ones that trained them. So they're like so popular in school. They're like the internet sensations. They're popular. So the fact that they have this dark side to them, and that is not just they brutally killed their victims. It's like gory. So this was a pleasant surprise, and $5, whatever. But I think if you have $5, you want to check out something different. The cover doesn't hurt either. And what's this done by? Martinez. Let me get his name. I never heard of him before. So, and this is coming from Dream Source Productions. So this is one of those independent labels. Daniel Martinez. Like the artwork isn't too bad either. Who's that? Art by. It seems like a Latino based company. But man, like the artwork. I'll just show you this. What the hell? That's just one death scene. It just gets crazy. So, Hell on Heels. If you haven't, check that out. Wow, that was a pleasant surprise. All right, so our next book, and I am shocked with this one. My regulars know, I haven't followed through with it, but we were starting to recap the ThunderCats. This has been a great year for the Gen Xers. So many iconic franchises are getting their own comic series. And, everyone's focused in on the Energon, but I'm going to tell you something that's going to be a news flash. The ThunderCats comic series is better than these Dukes, these Scarlet, Destro, these little mini series that Skybound Image is doing with these characters. I'm going to say this so far has been better because it is one issue a month and it's a clear focus. It's not pulling up things from all over and trying to. I'm going to say this when I discuss about Destro, Scarlet, Cobra Commander, what else? Duke. Is that unless you're, it is becoming like, it's like you need to get pie charts and trying to like connect everything between Void. There is a big drawback with this Energon universe. And I think like these bandwagon G.I. Joe fans, like these guys who like, they saw the classifieds and now they're lifelong fans and they know everything. They don't really know everything because I'm still sticking with Larry Hama's universe. I think what's going on is interesting, but it's very complex. And it's tough, like, especially for us who work during the day. We have other things on our mind. It's kind of tough when you're reading a comic and you got to think like, oh yeah, oh that happened. Oh, so that's where that's coming from. That's what's kind of sucking with the Energon universe. But ThunderCats has been a pleasant surprise. It's taking the storylines. This is issue number 6. This is issue number 5. So, I'm a little behind, but I'm caught up with all my reading, and it is fantastic because I'm not giving anything away because we all grew up on the cartoons. When Lion-O lands on Third Earth and he went from a boy to be a man, the cartoon never shows like all the growing pains that he's going through. It's really showing how Lion-O is struggling with his responsibility and how, Panthro isn't like all of a sudden the dynamics between him and like Panthro, Shitara, Tigra has suddenly changed. And he's no longer the kid that they're taking care of. He is their leader. But at the same time, like Panthro isn't like, all right, just because you're the leader, you need to pay your dues. And I'm being hard on you now more than I'm not your buddy. I'm not your we're not going to go play catch anymore. Like we're here because our survival is dependent on your decision makings. So that's like amazing, amazing good, makes for good writing, good internal struggle that Lion-O is going through and what the other Thundercats are going through as well, because you see them trying to be like, all right, I can't, even though they still see that boy. They don't see the man and they want to, but they're just not. It's like, just because you say it, we're not going to follow it to a T. We need to know everything where you're coming from with this decision. So that's what makes the ThunderCats comic series absolutely superior thus far than all of the side issues, side stories going on with the IDW, the Skybound G.I. Joe series. That's right. You heard it here first. I'm telling you right now, the ThunderCats is better than all of these side stories because it's just focused. It's focused. That's the best thing. So it's easy to follow. And it's cool to see Lion-O struggling with that. That is great. All right, the next issue, I'm a little, well, actually not little, but it's DC's big crossover event. Now, I'm the type of person that if everyone's interested in it, I kind of get turned off from it. Like I never got into Lost. I never got into Game of Thrones. Just because everybody jumps on that bandwagon, I'm like, I don't know what it is. It could be good. Like I'll probably discover it later, but at the time, I'm not going to join the masses, so to speak. So when I hear like, oh, this is their big crossover event, I've been burned, and a lot of you have too, with Marvel and DC when they announced this big crossover event. Some of these story arcs suck, and except for Secret Wars, like most of the time, they're a big disappointment. So, but for this one, Absolute Power. Now, this is a free comic book day, kind of like but this has been a year in the making. And I know because like I'll dip my toe into the DC world every now and then. But this is another amazing story arc. It is really good. I highly recommend picking up this if you could get it. But also, joining into this absolute power. I know I'm recommending a crossover event. Here's the thing, Amanda Waller, we all know that, whether from growing up, we know Amanda Waller's always had issue with the Justice League, that she thinks that they're too powerful, and she just has this need to control everything. And so she finally enacts her plan to target the Justice League where it hurts the most, their public persona, that they're not all good. You need Amanda Waller. You need her. And she actually uses Brainiac's, like, Brainiac made a female version of himself, or Mother Brainiac, whatever. It's kind of like the female version of Brainiac. So she kind of like put her online to do her bidding. So she's Brainiac, the woman Brainiac, is going all over social media and kind of like projecting fake AI. This is going through the whole AI shit that we're going through, making up AI broadcasts showing the Justice League not being so nice, not being so good, and actually hurting people. So let's give me an example. Superman is actually throwing people off the ledge, and meanwhile, probably in Vermont, but the entire time he's in Florida. So it's like, I'm not even there. That's not even me. How is this possible? Well, the female Brainiac is using AI to create false images of the Justice League doing bad things. So she's trying to change public opinion. But at the same time, she knows that certain parties are going to kind of get in her way. So she activates failsafe. See this thing right here? This is like Batman's very own countermeasure to himself. So if the unlikely event that Batman goes rogue or he's not who he is anymore, failsafe is activated to stop Batman / Bruce Wayne. And that's what happens. And you'll see it, especially with Batman 152 and like the other series, that failsafe is actively Batman, and he has locked Bruce Wayne in a jail cell with the Joker. I mean, it is good. I'm telling you, that Chip Zdarsky and this whole story arc has been a home run. I highly recommend jumping in on that. So going from DC now to the Marvel crossover event, Blood Hunt issue number 4. Still haven't gotten in the poly bag. I've been slow with this. A lot of people have been jumping on this. This is Marvel's attempt to bring in a more adult, like you see it's poly bag. You have to be 18 years and older to buy this, just because of the level of gore and just violence that's depicted in these pages. So I read the synopsis and everything, and a lot of people, including my good friend Bill Duff, who was played with Peyton Manning at the University of Tennessee. He later went on to host his own AMC show called The Human Weapon. If you haven't, try to check out those episodes. So Bill highly recommended hey, give Blood Hunt a shot. I know, you will definitely like it. So I'm going to dive into the Blood Hunt. It sounds great. It sounds amazing. I haven't read anything yet except the synopsis of it or what have you, but I'm looking forward to diving into Blood Hunt. And I'm not going to recommend it because I haven't read it, but based on a lot of people, I'm going to actually give it a try. So our next books, we're going into the Energon Universe, is Void Rivals issue number 10 and Void Rivals issue number 11. Now, so far, Void Rivals has been excellent. I know I said all that stuff about the Energon Universe, but the main title, the catalyst for all of this transpiring, is actually very good. It is exactly, as I said in previous months unboxing, it's what's going on in the real world. This division, this Palestine versus Israel, this, Northern Ireland versus Ireland, all, Ukraine versus Russia, that everything is political. The people are the same. When you're looking across, that's you looking right back at you. And you have to resolve your issues, not fight them, in a civilized, peaceful manner and respectful to the other people. That's the main, like, the whole everything else is great. But the meat and potatoes is what you drill down, what aspect you walk away from is that. And I think this is one of those things that look, a little bit down, and then you'll see, oh, that's the bigger thing. Yes, that is true. That don't matter, even if the skin color is different, you still, your heart is the same, the lungs are the same, the blood that's flowing in your veins is the same. Everything is the same. We are all peons in this earth, and we need to respect and kind of resolve our differences in a constructive manner versus a violent manner. And you hear the gunshot in the background. We're going to talk about that too. I'm working on an episode. Both the Xbox and the PS2 have been repaired. I'm going to talk about who to go to getting old electronics fixed, because that's becoming a big problem, especially for us Gen Xers. There's not a lot of people out there that could fix our old electronics for the next 40 or 50 years. So I'm going to discuss that. The video should be up by this weekend. All right, so the next book is a new X-Men title. So they're rebooting everything. We're going with Uncanny X-Men #1 as long with the supplemental titles. This is basically a nice Marvel came out with kind of like, these are the issues that are coming as part of this Uncanny X-Men type of relaunch. Again, I don't know how Jed McKay is on it, and so that they're starting off with fantastic talent. The whole thing is, I think Jonathan Hickman's House of M series was such a big hit. I didn't get into it personally. I knew that it was too far down the rabbit hole for me to jump in at that point. So I think now I'm going to start with the X-Men again. And I think after X-Men 97, now is a good time. And you see some of the concept art that they have. This is a good book. Famous Faces was nice to hook me up, but it basically highlights Uncanny X-Men, X-Men, Exceptional X-Men, NYX, X-Force, Phoenix, Wolverine, Dazzler, X-Factor, Sentinels, Storm, Mystique. So everyone, all of these have their own title. I guess they're going to do like an Energon Universe type of deal, but I think the artwork looks phenomenal. Right off the bat, I'm very impressed. Ryan Sigmund's artwork, it looks really good. Then has some highlights from the creative team back there, but this is a good kind of preview. So I don't know about you. If you're looking to, now is a good time to get back into X-Men with these relaunches. So that's something to look forward to. Of course, coming off of the back of X-Men 97. All right, our next book, we talked about Void Rivals being one of my top 3 for 2024 best series. Ultimate X-Men #6. Now, I talked about this last month, but this is the second printing. I actually picked it up by accident. But again, I'm going to re-emphasize how good this series has been. Now, I didn't talk about it last month, but in this issue, issue 6, he reveals that he is Spider-Man to his wife and his kids. That's a dynamic we didn't see with Peter Parker, the one that we grew up with, the kid Peter Parker. But he's being Peter Parker as an adult. That's what's pretty freaking cool. And I've said it like the last few months when I talked about this issue. It's the natural evolution of Peter Parker, our Peter Parker, growing up with us. So he's dealing with things that we deal with now. So I think that's kind of cool. Before, we were teens, we were kids, you could relate. And now you could relate with him once again. So that's what makes this an interesting, one of my top 3 picks. All right, and jumping back into ThunderCats, Chitara has launched her own ongoing series called Chitara. This basically tells you the origin of Chitara back on Thundera, leading up to the events of Thundera being blown up. And I discovered something that I didn't realize. that Chitara was basically a surrogate mother to Lion-O. And that whole dynamic of being noble and having suitors and having, it's like arranged marriage, and finding like the proper mate. But at the same time, she looks at Lion-O like a son. So that changes everything of the Thundercats that we grew up with to what is currently in this universe, Chitara's role. And how like it'll make sense more when you read issue 6 in the Thundercats series, because they square off. And now, after reading this and rereading that whole couple panels brings more meaning to it. And I think this is very well done. The artwork has been great. This is really good artwork. That's another thing about the Thundercats, the artwork. Our next book is going to be Zatanna, Bring Down the House. And of course, the cover, I thought it was an Art Gem cover initially. And Art Gem, let's see, where's the... I can't find it. It's graded, that's right. So Art Gem, if you don't remember, I featured him when we did our PGX unboxing of the recent Power Girl, when he did a nice cover of Punchline. Art Gem's artwork has been really catching on fire, and this is not Art Gem. So it's a copycat of Art Gem. So you see that too in comics. We saw that with Todd McFarlane. A lot of people started drawing the hash lines and everything. And like, Rob Liefeld with the big shoulders and everything, the big guns. Everybody started copying those two guys. I could see that happening. It's still happening here in the modern comic world. So this is telling you, the cover artist is Ariel Diaz. So I don't know much about Ariel, but this is a fantastic cover, don't you guys think? That is great. Zatanna's always been a character that I don't know much about. She has her friends, she has her following and stuff. I never got it. So I want to give this a try because I want to know more about Zatanna as a character. I know I've seen her in some episodes of the Justice League, but I don't know. The artwork inside, I'm not too keen on. I mean, your mileage may vary, but it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm not too keen on it, but I'm interested in the story arc, so we'll check that out. Alrighty, so our next set, I'm going to feature them together, is issue number 2 of both Scarlet and Destro. Destro, we're finally going to see the Crimson Twins and Destro's beef come to fruition. We're going to see what all of their, because at the end of Destro issue number 1, we an assassination attempt, which is kind of crazy in the times we lived in, especially what happened in July, which 100% denounce. I hate violence. I don't like that, even though I don't agree with the person. I don't like to see that. But again, it kind of there's a corporate war going on at the same time of an actual war. So that kind of like, and it's more ruthless than the war with weapons and tanks, so to speak. So that's actually pretty compelling with that. Scarlet, again, I talked about G.I. Joe issue number 255 by Larry Hama. Scarlet's secret missions, her backstory of, going on, like a woman who's grieving the loss of her soulmate, and then you go to this, be like that issue 255 by Larry Hama is amazing. I've said it. It's one of the best written. So much heart, so much feel, so much emotion in that. And then you go to this. She has a relationship with Jinx that maybe is suggestive. We don't know, but come on, man. I am not. I mean, I'm not going to give you right away because it's only issue number 2. But I've not been impressed with Scarlet. All right, our second to last issue. We're going to end with some fun. It's the Street Fighter Swimsuit issue. And obviously, I picked this up. The cover art is fantastic, but the artwork, if you're an anime fan and you like that Japanese animation, this is actually an amazing art book. Just the art in this is phenomenal. It is really good. It's not going to be worth a hill of beans, but still, just to see the art in this is just worth picking up. It's fun. I mean, just look at that. This is a pretty fun issue. I think this was well done. You know, nothing over the top, but at the same time, it makes you appreciate that whole style of artwork. And of course, we're going to end with G.I. Joe issue number 308. Again, the zombies, the infection, the mutant infection, now the assault onto Springfield has begun. G.I. Joe and Cobra might have to team up, not just with them, but also with G.I. Joe, Cobra, but they have to square off against Serpentor and also Revenge. So Revenge is the thorn in everybody's side. Definitely have to check that out. So G.I. Joe issue number 308. Alrighty, so the one more issue to showcase, and it kind of makes sense, but Wolverine Deadpool is out. So this is going to be Codename Wolverine issue number 50. I picked this up because this is a fun issue. It's one of the most unique comic covers, I think, that came out of the 90s. This came out in 1991. Wow. So this is a famous cover with the, look at that. This is the second one I've gotten. But the point I'm showing with this is that Larry Hama has not been getting any acknowledgement as far as this whole Wolverine versus Deadpool. We got to remember, he's the one who wrote the first story of Wolverine meeting Deadpool. And even in the credits, they've kind of left out Larry Hama's name. Of course, they acknowledge Herb Trimpe, which is great, but they didn't acknowledge. It's like Marvel's purposely kind of not giving Larry Hama his just due credit. And that's been a problem. That's why this channel started to begin with, is so people remember that Larry Hama is an excellent writer. He's so important to comic book history. He did the first Wolverine versus Deadpool. I hope everybody remembers that. And again, this is kind of like showing how good Larry Hama was, or is, I should say. He was doing Wolverine and G.I. Joe at the same time. So it's tough to switch gears like that. You go in with like one mindset, and then you got to do with another character that world. And it's unlike G.I. Joe, this is somebody else's world, Chris Claremont's world. So he has to write his, like, everything as if it was Chris Claremont's Wolverine. That's the genius of Larry Hama. So I hope that goes without saying. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope there's something that's caught your eye that you're looking to pick up this month. If you have any suggestions, hey, put in the comments. I'd love to hear from everybody. I do follow up on those suggestions. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode, Codename YouTube Hero 2. Take care.